We are MythVision. Welcome back to MythVision Podcast. It is me, Derek Lambert. Yes, I have the full-fledged Saudi suit. I'm not playing around. I went to Israel, and me and my beautiful queen, Mrs. MythVision, we were haggling and bartering, kind of like, Muhammad did in Arabia. But we went and we were bartering and haggling for some deals, and we came across the full-fledged outfit. Halloween was coming, and I said, you know what if I bought an outfit? I was just going to get a cheesy one, but turns out the guy had authentic desert outfit that would make me fit in Saudi Arabia under disguise, of course. My wife has a princess outfit. Like, we look like we own an oil company. Okay. There's a part of that land that is ours just from wearing this outfit. Okay. That's how it makes you feel when you put it on. I hope everybody's doing well. I am chilling at the house, rocking the outfit, and said, I haven't been live in a while. And in fact, I wasn't launching anything because I'm realizing sometimes the algorithm needs to ride on good videos. It gives me an opportunity to edit other work that I have. I have a lot of other videos that I'm working on and planning on getting out to you on Patreon. Just in the past 2 days, I've launched 4 Paula videos for the Patreon members. In fact, let me let you get exclusive, see this yourself. What has changed Paula Fredrickson's mind in the past 30 years? We were wrong. Everything we thought we knew about Jewish religion was wrong. I thought that was a fitting title in light of the fact that she blows my mind with the Hellenism and what the heck did Jews really believe before the war was over. You combine that with all the scholarship we've had on MythVision, and Rabbinic Judaism used to be the mother religion in which people used to think Jewish religion was like what we see the rabbis in post-70 AD Jewish religion teaching. That's what they believed. No. It was all over the place. You're going to want to check that out. Also, Jesus was wrong. I mean, what better clickbait than that to get you to see he's a failed apocalyptic prophet? And then, of course, the Homeric epics and the Gospels. And I mentioned Dennis McDonald's work, and of course, we dive into that. There's my little plug. For those who are wondering, man, you plug this Patreon a lot. Patreon keeps MythVision going. And number 2, it's affordable. $3 a month gets you in to access all the content. And of course, I believe in humans. So typically people, want to help out and they go up. But if you can't afford it, $3 a month, it's available. I do work harder than most YouTubers that I know. And in fact, I've heard most people tell me, they're like, dude, you edit and do more content than anyone I know. So anywho, that's my plug. You thought I converted. I had a ton of people comment down below in the videos, the live streams, my pictures and posts that I took with my wife. And we're like, Jerusalem syndrome. Like, this guy is going to come back with the messianic complex. Come back with one? Haven't I already taught you that salvation, true salvation, is through MythVision alone? Where have you been? Why would Jerusalem change that? It's been the same yesterday, today, and forever, everybody. MythVision is the spot. It always will be. But on a serious note, I get why they call it Jerusalem syndrome. There are so many people that are milking this tourist trap, and they really make up shit to sell people. Jesus baptized right over here. He baptized down here. In fact, I've got videos coming where I baptize Neil in the name of We Are MythVision, and Mrs. MythVision gets baptized as well in the Jordan River next to a bunch of Christians, and they're hearing me baptized. We are MythVision, and I dunked them. So it's on video. It's coming soon. There were little fish nibbling at our feet in the river. It was so weird. It was so weird. There was so much that we did. I don't know where to begin. So let me get to your chat here. Let me check you out in the chat. See what's going on. Blake says, calling it now, he reconverted. Blake, look, it's once saved, always saved, baby. Melody Joy says, Rabbi Lambert. Pure clickbait, I predict. I mean, I'm talking about Israel. I think the outfit is what has you like, yo, I got to see what's going on here. But, you know, I bet you this would be fine. In fact, I saw a video where a guy dressed up in Chinese outfit and went around like regular New York City and whatnot. And people were like, I am disturbed. I hate that outfit. I can't believe you're wearing that outfit. That is so disrespectful. That's this, that. Then he goes to Chinatown and all of the Chinese people are like, you look great. I love the outfit. I'm glad you're representing our culture. Like mad respect and blah, blah, blah. And it was weird how like the non-Chinese people were upset that this guy was rocking Chinese outfits. And the Chinese people were like, dude, thank you for representing our culture and like showing love and whatnot. And I kind of liked the outfit. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't have spent the amount of money I did on it if it wasn't cool in the desert. Just saying. So if anyone's offended in the chat, you know, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, I'm enjoying, I'm making it look good, right? Come on. Is that Peter O'Toole as Lawrence of Arabia on the thumbnail? Talk about 7 pillars of wisdom. Pat says, I heard Derek was a modern day Lawrence of Arabia without the incredible cinematography or storyline. I don't know. The storyline's pretty tough. Derek of Dubai. I like that. That's a slogan. We should say that. What a title. What happened to me during my trip to Israel? People are like, what happened? Did you hear a voice? Did an angel of light appear to you and tell you, thus saith the Lord? Deb says, MythVision coffee. Reconverted. No, he's an Orthodox Jew. You know what? Some people would actually believe that at this point. Some people would actually believe that. Listen, what happened, I'll tell you like what took place in terms of where we went and stuff. But what happened is it gave me a better appreciation of the geographic locations that get mentioned and how they apply to biblical texts in many ways. Whether the events happened or not, those geographic locations play a role, most likely, in some of the significant scenes that we see. I can't tell you how important that is in trying to wrap your head around what's happening. In fact, the video that I just launched on the Patreon, this one right here, it changed my mind. The one you see right here, the Temple Mount, you see the Dome of the Rock and the Temple Mount. Paula mentions how she followed the thinking of E.P. Sanders on a very important issue with Jesus. But after visiting the land and seeing the geography, she changed her mind. And she fills you in on that in that episode. So I'm going to have to leave you hanging, you know, get you a little bit, you know, what is this about? Join the Patreon. Discovering Ancient History, Pat, crisp action camera shot. Raphael, what is up? James Apperson, Melody Joy, Joel Pearson, religious hats are funny. Looking good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Did you get a free gourd with it? Actually, I think, isn't this the gourd? I could be mistaken. I don't even know what part of this is my outfit and what it's called. The guy gave me this for free with buying, you know, the whole thing. So you should see my wife. If you think this looks good, I look fugly compared to her. She glistens. In fact, let me ask her if she would be so kind to join us, just to poke her face real quick. I'm calling the wife.
Yes, honey.
Hello, Queen of MythVision. Is it possible that you could put your outfit on and just come visit us for a brief moment?
Not right this second.
Pretty please?
Derek, I got to pick up Kaden from school.
Okay, fine. You have real duties to do. All right. Well, when you get back, please surprise us.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. I tried. Listen, I'm not, I'm not going to push it, but if you saw her, you'd be like, wow, it's all good, or it's a good look. How did you get past airport security? I did not wear this in the airport. Zagros. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Logan. I appreciate that. I'm working hard. I didn't pick this color. It was the only one he had. Okay. Melody wants to hear about the trip. Ray says, see, I told you Jerusalem syndrome would get to him. I bet he brought back goats with him. Ray, I told you not to tell anybody about the goats. See, you and me had an agreement that you weren't going to mention the damn goats, and now you're mentioning them. You broke our agreement. It's out of the bag now. I mean, you can't put it back. So, okay, on Delta Airlines, I snuck 5 goats in, and I had to pay them in shekels because they weren't going to accept US dollars. And I did, because every dollar is like 3.5 US or shekels. He only charged me 4,000 shekels. So it was worth the bargain. Thank you. Thank you. She's just so casually. Oh, you're talking about Paula? Yes, she is. Got lost in the harem. Yeah, I had to baptize his ass. He was acting up big time. Big time. I did start, just for those who know, this is typically, obviously, a desert outfit. You might find people who are nomadic or not in this outfit specifically. They would probably not dress as proper in this kind of outfit. But what do you? I'm losing my mind here trying to figure out what would you call them. I can't think right now. But anyway, the outfit would be something like to cover their head from the sun and the heat, particular outfits out there. But at the end of the day, I was interested in reading The Death of a Prophet by Shoemaker, Stephen J. Shoemaker. On my way back on the airplane, I started 16-hour flight, was tough. But yeah, I'm interested in doing some content on that. And I live kind of near Shoemaker. So I'm going to be doing stuff on Islam again here shortly. And I'm really looking forward to it from an academic perspective because, boy, I'm interested in being critical, like critical scholarship is with Christianity and Judaism. I'm interested in that critical approach on Islam as well. And I think we need to have more of that should be openly, freely discussed. There should be no shut your mouth and don't talk about these issues or accept our narrative and that's it. When a lot of the biographies are centuries after Muhammad died, like, I'm really curious on diving deeper into that. Should check out Malta. Apparently, Paul touched everything on that island. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. There was a lot of Jesus was baptized here. Here's the upper room. This is where, he walked on water, you name it, all that stuff. Yes, I did see Rabbi Tovia Singer, and he took me down to the Western Wall the first night. So we got to hang out with him for 2-3 hours. Me and Neil hung out with Rabbi. Rabbi is a friend. Rabbi is an Orthodox Jew. I'm not interested in bringing him on to discuss his Orthodox Judaism, just like I'm not interested in inviting I guess you'd say a conservative apologist Christian to come on and tell me about Christianity. You're going to get a biased position on that particular viewpoint, but at the end of the day, I am curious on Rabbi's assessment on Christianity in the New Testament. We disagree on many things even there, but yeah, I get a lot of crap for having him on this channel. I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe if you were me, you'd understand more. But anyway, there's a lot of people who think there's some conspiracy there, that I'm getting paid by the rulers of the world in a check every month, like how they knew that. Someone must have leaked that information out. Anywho, James says, I am filling the altar call. Hallelujah. Neil had his 33rd birthday while we were there. And Neil went to Egypt after I had already left back and came back. He went to Egypt. Be on the lookout. Sheik Lambert. Did you become an atheist during the trip? I was already an atheist. Gray Jetty, Lambert of Israel. Do you mean Palestine, not Israel? Well, see, this is the interesting question, right? I didn't go near the West Bank. We just traveled on a bus through the highway there. But I already know if I would have visited, it would have agitated me because I know that there is serious mistreatment of Palestinians in this area. Palestine was the name given by Rome to this region, of course. But what we would call modern day Israel, I was all over the place, but we were mainly in modern day Israel. We went all the way from Caesarea, and then Caesarea Philippi. We went to Tel Dan. We were in Jerusalem. We went south to the Dead Sea. I even entered a Qumran Cave 11, where they found a Melchizedek scroll. I have that all filmed as well, me and Neil both. I went into a couple separate caves by myself up above Cave 11 when everyone else was leaving, and I was so dehydrated, but I still climbed up, holding my cameras. I know the quality on those suck because I didn't have a gimbal. I'm literally just hiking up a mountain using my feet. So there was some cool stuff that we got to see. After that, we went down into the Snake Valley, and what is the name? I can't even think right now. We went and stayed at an area where there was actually an ancient Israel camp from the 10th century BC, or an ancient 9th, 10th century BC camp that got took over, and many other civilizations after that built on top of it. Zagros. Welcome, Chic Myth. I'm just reading everybody here. Derek, trendsetter, new line of merch, shout up and take my money. Well, if you're interested in buying some, I'm sure you can go on Amazon. Muslim Derek. See, I mean, I bet you some of the people who are commenting right now are Muslims, and they probably like the outfit. Derek Lambert, Yahoo. E.P. Sanders is the most boring to ever read. I have not read much of E.P. Sanders, but it wouldn't shock me. This bloke won't handle all in and with circumcision tradition style. Your poor wife, you're going to embarrass her. Well, I'm not going to pressure her, but I'd love to have her on. I don't think there's any embarrassing her when she puts the outfit on. I think everybody watching will be like, wow. Side by side, we look like an Arabian prince and princess. Pretty cool, pretty cool. The ghost of MythVision in here. Welcome back, Sheikh Derek Eben Lambert. May Allah be pleased with you. Well, thank you so much, Ghost of MythVision. MashaAllah, Derek, brother. What a miracle. I'm catching up here. Shake Derek your booty. That's right. That's my other name. Are you thinking of talking to genetically modified skeptic? He also went to Israel. Would be fun to see how your perceptions differ. Well, I am friends with him. I did go into Gehenna, and I am absolutely interested in talking to him about it. I think we have a shared, position, ontologically speaking, of the world. Both of us are skeptics. Both of us are atheists. But I think that, I don't know. I'd be curious to know what he did on his trip, because I did a lot of filming and I was all over the place. I was up on the Temple Mount right there where the Dome of the Rock was, which is literally controlled by Muslims. And they don't want you recording when you get past the security there. And I took a huge risk and I just went in and recorded anyway. They don't want you to. So I had a tripod that I had attached to my camera, and he's like, they weren't going to let me in. And then I was like, listen, I'll just put it in my backpack. And then I just kept the camera hanging around my neck and pretty much filmed where the court of the Gentiles was, the Temple Mount corner where James was thrown off of, according to Josephus. We went up to the Dome of the Rock where the Muslims, have obviously built this building. There's a location up there on the Temple Mount where the Holy of Holies was located in the temple. And in fact, when you go down to the Western Wall, I wish I could just show you, plug in a chip and let you see. But when the Western Wall is right there looking toward the Dome of the Rock. So imagine you're the Dome of the Rock. Over here, beside and closer to the Western Wall, there's a location right there where they say that was where the Holy of Holies was located. And when Jews who know what they're doing at the Western Wall, when they're rocking and they're tilting, they tilt their heads a little left towards the Holy of Holies, where that was located as they're praying. And I got video of all of this. They're like rocking back and forth and praying on the wall. It's pretty interesting going in there. The first night I went in with Rabbi Tovia Singer. Then we came back the next day when we went on the Temple Mount and went down to the Western Wall. Again, there was a lot of, what is it? My brain is shot, by the way. I'm still trying to catch up from this trip. When a 13-year-old boy, they're having a birthday celebration and he's become a man now. Help me out in the chat. What is that called? Waiting for you, please. Give me, I can't remember. They're at the Western Wall and they only do it on Thursdays, and I can't remember. Bar mitzvahs. Yep. And my wife has a story to tell about that as well. Yeah, everybody's chiming in. Awesome. My wife she wants to chime in as well and tell her side of things, but I think we're pretty privileged here in the West to live in a society in the way things are structured here. Or at least my wife has been comfortable living that way, because the first night we went down, I was like, hey, I want to go to the Western Wall. My wife wanted to go with me. She can't. She's not allowed. Men are allowed on this side of the Western Wall, which is the majority of the visible Western Wall that can be prayed at. Women have to go down, and they get a small section on the other side where there's a barrier between the men and women, and the women have to go to the women's side, which is much smaller. You could tell it's patriarchal to the core. And on the bar mitzvah day, when their sons are celebrating their 13th birthday on the bar mitzvah, the women are like hanging out like on the fence, watching their children have a bar mitzvah with their father and whatnot. But the women have to be separated, so they can't go in and celebrate it at the Western Wall. Now, they get to celebrate it before they come to the Western Wall. They could spend, the whole family could be together. But when you get close to this holy area, like there's a big separation that happens. And my wife didn't know that this is what was going to happen. And I'll let her share how she felt about that as, she feels comfortable recording. But, I like this comment here. It's funny how just under 100 years ago, women and men could pray there without separation. Great point, because you kind of wonder how conservative the religious leaders in this area are, that there is that separation or that segregation between the sexes. Now, Rabbi Tovia Singer told me one of the reasons they do it is they don't want men to be distracted looking at a woman next to them praying at the wall. Or when a man leaves their house, the women at home are thinking, well, what woman's standing with my husband at the Welling Wall? But I just don't find that, to me, to be a good enough excuse for separating both sexes from being able to go to the Western Wall. But that's just one among many things along the trip that I figure I'd mention. Thank you for everybody in the chat reminding me bar mitzvah. I couldn't think, and my brain's been going through little hiccups here. So how can a camel get through the head of a needle? It can't. That's actually the point of the narrative Jesus says is it's harder for a camel to enter or it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to enter the eye of the needle. The point is, rich man can't get into heaven. But that, I think, is why Matthew and Luke are radically different. Luke talks about blessed are the poor and giving to the poor. And it's about poor people, actually poor people. Matthew comes on and it almost sounds like whoever Matthew's writing to or whatever the community is, or the authors trying to tell their side of things. They want to say, blessed are the poor in spirit. You can keep your money and don't worry, you'll still be part of the kingdom of God. So they change it up so that you can be rich, and yet it's about being poor in the spirit, not about being poor literally and selling all that you own, etc. Good question. Wait, what women have more rights and freedom in the West? Who would have thunk it? Well, it was really a shock my wife experienced on that level. In fact, this was a really interesting part of this whole trip. When we got our hotel rooms and we got a king and we wanted a double, they put two beds together, even if we get a single. They're two separate beds that they put together. Every door has a mezuzah at every hotel. They're either slanted, and I think it is the Ashkenazi Jewish rabbis, or at least that tradition, that they debated to have it horizontal or diagonal for the mezuzah. The vertical or the Sephardic, from what I read, I could be mistaken here, but like when I read up on this, 90% of the mezuzahs, maybe I need to get a picture here so you understand what I'm talking about. Mezuzah. Let's go to images. Okay, here we go. Images. They sell all sorts of color ones in the market and stuff. When I looked it up, 90%, actually, that's a horrible picture, but I'm going to drag it in here and upload it as a picture for you all to see anyway. 90% of mezuzahs are not kosher, according to a Jewish site that said like the inks they use, the parchment that they use. Let me take down your comment here. So this is a mezuzah. They put a blessing, or it's a particular parchment from the Torah, most likely Deuteronomy. I can't remember the exact verse, but they put it on the door or near the door of every hotel room. And like 90% of these around the world, according to Jewish sources, aren't even done right. They're not even done right. So they're like, you're not even doing this thing right. You need to pull your head out of your butt. So just a heads up. And the beds that are two separate beds, the reason that they're two separate beds is the idea of a woman menstruating. So when a husband and wife lays in bed, even to this day in Israel, Palestine, what's going on over in the hotel rooms, they have two separate box springs that they've slide together in case, based on their kosher laws and like what's clean and unclean, etc., like the separation of beds in case your wife menstruates. So at least you have like a separate sleeping, living situation. So this is like really old ideas that are still circulating in the religious communities and just within the culture in that area. All of their food is kosher. You'll be hard pressed to find a Papa John's or Pizza Hut that sells sausage on their pizza, but it's there. I didn't do it because I don't care. But the first day I got back, I should have recorded the breakfast I ate yesterday. I had a killer breakfast and it had bacon on it, and it was so good. I was like, I'm so glad that I live in America and got to, get a taste of American breakfast again. It was amazing. But I ate kosher for 10, 12 days. So it was pretty interesting. All right, let me see. We have a new member who has joined MythVision. Christine Wilson, thank you for joining MythVision. Appreciate you becoming a member. There are 9 Paula Fredrickson videos on the YouTube for you members who join the membership that you can go watch. And I have a lot of other videos too that are not released publicly, but by joining and becoming a member, you're not only getting actual salvation, not the fake stuff, not the phony stuff. Like, we're pretty inclusive here. So you have real salvation, but you can watch all that content. And you get the cool tag next to your name, which it makes you an elitist. Okay. I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. You're now extra special. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, poor baby. Seriously. Yeah. It's different, very different. Then have men hours and women hours doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I don't understand the what you're trying to say here, Zagros. I think this is pertaining to the wall in a repressed culture. That's true. That's why I don't like women peeing in the urinal next to me in the men's bathroom. Very distracting. I don't know. Maybe I'm like literally in the middle of a conversation that I'm not aware of. Did you mention walking backwards from the Welling Wall? I did not mention that. Sorry, I'm getting close. Let me do this here. That'll make the blurriness go away. I'm trying to read your comments here. In fact, I could probably put my glasses on, but I wouldn't look quite Arabian. Now, would I? I don't know. Yeah, I don't. They walk backwards from the wall as they back up, and they're praying and stuff. Then they exit. I actually kept one of the kippas from going in. I just thought it'd be interesting to take one with me and just say, hey, I was there. Dr. James Tabor. Hey, Derek. Just posting an informal video on Tamar. I made the evening after you all left. Great trip. So glad we went together. Listen, this trip, Dr. James Tabor was our tour guide. This trip was amazing. I can't tell you how much fun I had. There were a lot of things I would critique about how things are in the society over there. But when it comes to like checking out the sites and looking at the Mediterranean world, meaning a Hellenistic world with Jewish thinking and pagan thinking, and I don't even know if those categories are worth using at this time. It's really, really been a pleasure. I can't wait to get some of the footage out and we end up putting something together with Dr. Tabor because he showed us the city of Sepphoris. And I get excited and I start spilling beans, but it would do you a disservice not having the videos and the images to show you Sepphoris, what it looks like on the ground, the houses, mosaics and stuff on the floor, the synagogue floor that was in Sepphoris. There's an auditorium you could call it an auditorium right there next to Nazareth. And I'll leave it at that. James, I don't want to steal your thunder, but there's so many good things. And it was Tamar. That's right. I'm glad you mentioned the name because I had a brain fart. Tamar is where we were located at the end, where there was an excavation on the site at Tamar, and we were out in the desert, like for real in the desert. So really interesting. Thank you for tuning in to the live, man. Hope you made it back safe. Are you still recovering from the trip? Comment if you're still watching. I'd love to hear how you're doing. That was a heck of a flight. We flew for 16 hours. So I don't sleep good on planes. So James is proud to be a member. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Logan, rock on. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Derek of Arabia looking hot in the kifa. Is it kifaya? I don't know how to pronounce this. Yes, go subscribe to James Tabor. We got a super chizzy in the hizzy. William Arens, thank you so much for the super chat. From what you observed, which religion derives the most meaning from the ancient traditional sites you saw on the trip? Judaism, Christianity, or Islam? From what you observed, which religion derives the most meaning from the ancient traditional sites you saw on the trip? That's a tough one because Jews, obviously the Western Wall, like is the spot. Like that is the Mecca of their Jerusalem. That is the absolute central point. I really got to give it to Christians. They're traveling the entire world, over. And it's like ridiculous amounts of Christians are there on tours to examine and to see how significant these sites are. So I'm going to have to go with the Christians here. Not saying that Jews don't see this as significant and important. If you're in Jerusalem, of course, without a doubt, most of the people are Jews there. And you name it, Hasidic Jews, they have like their own little area in Jerusalem. And it was really crazy driving through there. Everybody wearing the big hats and the big curly fry hair for the sideburns. I don't know what you call it, but there's a lot of that. That would be the focus there. But even in Jerusalem, you have all of these like Christians, and there's a lot of Zionists that like anticipate the Gentiles, the nations coming to Israel in this region of the world as fulfilling Bible prophecy. Even when I was there, I was hearing it, I was seeing it. And there are people I bumped into even down in Tamar that were like, the nations are coming. And I won't name names, but one of my buddies that was in the chat, they were all getting sauced up, hanging out, enjoying a little bit of alcohol. They were drinking wine under the night sky in the desert, just hanging out. And he's like, the nations aren't coming here, dude. Like, no, they're not. They're not interested in coming here like that. Unless you are like convinced of Bible prophecy and for some reason you're fulfilling that by coming to Israel. like he just wanted to make the point, like, we don't see that happening. Like, all the nations of the world are not coming here. It's just not going to take place. Pretty funny though. So in the region I was at, it was Christianity and Judaism. I think I saw 4, maybe 5 women that were wearing the hijab and like full on, rocking it. There were definitely Muslims there, but it wasn't like I thought there would be. There wasn't like a ton of Muslims. And I know that we were getting closer to Jordan and Tamar, which would have, I was an hour and a half from Egypt and about an hour from Saudi Arabia, hour and a half from Saudi Arabia. So I know that if I'd have gone any further south, or if I'd have gone over into Jordan, we would have saw a completely different number scheme take place, I bet. That would be my opinion. I think that would be the accurate perception. But I'd like to get Neil's opinion and anyone else who joined the trip to give their thoughts. I thought there was a heck of a lot of Christians there, though. And I don't think they lived there. I think that they were visiting. Thank you so much for that super chat. I really do appreciate it. I haven't been doing live streams at all for a while now. And one of the reasons when I was in the desert is you don't have internet. And I was roaming. So I'm using I only have a certain amount of gigabytes, and then hooking up to the Wi-Fi, it's super slow as is, let alone everyone else is using Wi-Fi because they're all from the States or from some other country. So they can't just use their internet. I wish I could have done live streams and showed you the places and all that, but I really appreciate that. That super chat helps me go a long way. Even though I am a Saudi Arabian who owns many oil companies, we need super chats to keep things alive here at MythVision. Thank you. MythVision is a new religion to the moon. Judaism is a belief in the God of Abraham. Well, Muslims believe in the God of Abraham. Christians believe in the God of Abraham. I think Judaism is anachronistic. Jewish beliefs or Jewish customs and traditions and religion, I think it's developed over a long period of time. In fact, there wasn't even a fixed, as far as the critical scholars that I talked to, evidence in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the fact that we have so many varieties of books written by different Jewish people, from the extreme Hellenistic side to the extreme kind of Maccabean side, there's not a fixed canon. And it's not till after the war in 70 that you actually have rabbinic Judaism come on the scene. And Judaism, I would say, is anachronistic. So if the definition is that Judaism is all these things, then Islam is Judaism and so is Christianity, if that's your definition. Anyway, welcome back, Derek. Thank you so much for the welcome. I appreciate it. I feel welcome. True, Bible prophecy isn't being fulfilled, but people like to get hyped on the thought. This is true. Wonderful point, mystery apologist. I noticed a lot of excitement, and that Jerusalem syndrome, someone kept posting that, like, Derek's getting Jerusalem syndrome. Let me show you what that means, just to give you an idea if you've never heard of it. And I kind of chuckled, wow, I can imagine why people would think that. Jerusalem syndrome. Ooh, sorry, what did I do? That's the thorough thing on Wiki. Jerusalem syndrome is an acute psychotic state observed in tourists and pilgrims who visit Jerusalem. The main symptom of this disorder is identification with a character from the Bible and exhibiting behaviors which seem to be typical for this character. So some of these people who were working there when we were there literally said that they were there serving Israel and that they believed that the nations were coming soon, that the end was about to happen. And I was thinking, oh, snap. This person's really, really actively convinced that this is what's going to happen. I can imagine that if you had to get a certain people group like Jews to go back into the land and have to expel others, let's just say, in order to fulfill Bible prophecy, you might go that route. That's just how far some people, I think, are willing to go. What's up, Satan? Good to see you in the hazy. Worshipped Baal. Judaism is anachronistic, but if you mean Israelites or Judahites or whatever, worship Baal. Yeah, absolutely. Abraham's God was El. Catching up here. Purple clouds. Don't know why you're commenting fake Jews. Not sure what you mean there. Hey there. I don't know. Ayotala? Ayotahala? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Appreciate the compliments, everybody. Good to see you here. 330 of you watching. And I'll tell you, as we had to tell each other on the tour, one of my favorite sites, there was a couple. The Mount of Olives scene, looking at the Temple Mount, was pretty cool. And then seeing the corner where James was thrown off of, that was really cool as well. Went through the graveyards, all of that as well. But we went down into Gehenna as well. But the one really that got me was Caesarea Philippi. I really enjoyed going there, where Herod built a temple to Augustus. But we went also to the Temple of Pan, which has been destroyed since then. And there was a portal where there's water in this little cave that is a tunnel or portal or an entrance into the underworld, into Hades. And in this location, or in this area in Caesarea Philippi, the Gospels portray Jesus as having been here and asking his disciples, "Who do men say that I am?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, here is this Mediterranean world where all of these demigods, these man deities, these men who were claiming to be gods, and other gods that have temples to them, are located in this area. Pan, okay, and then of course the other Caesars, etc. And here's Jesus in the heart of a Roman-controlled Mediterranean world where all these god men are making claims about themselves. And I'm right there in this area where the Gospels say, whether you believe it or not, there is some impact here when you're in the geography, when you're in the location. The Gospels portray Jesus being Caesarea Philippi, asking, "Who do men say that I am?" And of course, Peter gets this revelation: "You are the Son of the living God. Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven." It brings a little more significance to this idea of divinities that you read in M. David Litwa. Paula Fredrickson brings this up in her video with me recently. Dr. James Tabor brings this up in his Paul and the Ascension in the Mediterranean world, that he is all over, that there isn't like God, angels, and then just mortals. Like, there were men that were on a higher spectrum than beyond just normal mortals. There were men that were divinities or gods. Jesus said, "It is written, you are gods." And of course, I've heard Christians try to say, well, that just meant that you're judges. But when you know the Mediterranean world and understand that some men rise above mere mortals, like Jesus himself, this might bring more context to the understanding of the Gospels when Jesus says, "Who do men say that I am?" Because what men say that he is doesn't matter. It's what God calls him. And Peter gets that revelation, right? It's not from him, but his Father in heaven. So it makes you think like, oh, snap. This is the area that the Gospels are talking about. Getting on the Sea of Galilee was fun. We rowed a boat. We went out on the Sea of Galilee. That was interesting. Tel Dan was interesting. Some really old sites there. Jerusalem was fun. I mean, it was all fun. What the heck can I tell you? What the heck can I tell you? Anyway. I'm from Iraq wearing one. I got what I could. I tried, William. I tried. Let's see. Did I miss any chat while rambling there? How did God create the universe, then decide to be the only God of the Jews, and then change to being the God of everyone? Time. Pretty simple, but I wouldn't call it create the universe. Even Genesis is kind of vague, not ex nihilo on that. And in Genesis 1, it's I go with the scholars on this that say Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 aren't the same. Genesis 1 might be a little late in the game. So 5th century, we already have other gods who create the world and everything in it. And then, of course, over time, and philosophy comes on the scene, you start seeing God change. The perception of God changes by men. We got a super in the house. Ma and Pa Ferguson, thank you for that super chat. I really appreciate the support. Religious belief is declining worldwide. Is there a large non-religious population? And is that metric increasing in Israel? I would imagine that they're becoming more secular over time, and I hope that they do. Statistics-wise, I didn't look at any statistics before doing this episode. I know there were secular Jews while I was there, and I hope that they continue to increase because I imagine that that kind of secular world might help with civil rights issues, with the division amongst religious folks, you name it. What's going on with Palestine and who owns the land, whose God-given land is this, that kind of stuff. I can guarantee you that is a motivating factor on how people treat each other and why people want that piece of land. When I stood on the Temple Mount and I was right there at the Dome of the Rock, I really want to convey this. Like, I was standing somewhere that I knew hundreds of thousands of people died. Josephus accounts this in the War of the Jews, and that's just that war. That's not counting the time that Islam came to conquer it, the medieval, the Christians that were coming and their conquest that were slaughtering people in the land to take it back, the Persians during the time Heraclius in the 7th century, and I'm just talking about a little tiny little bat of an eye in history, how much blood, because this was a holy site and this land was God-given to certain people. And there was so much blood that's been shed over that. I couldn't help but think, and it was overwhelming to think about how many people die and still die to this day for this spot in this area. And mind-boggling. We live in a totally different world. And so sorry for that, Ma and Pa. I rambled into that, but I just want to emphasize that I hope more people get liberal in their approach to their religion and are open-minded to understanding criticism towards their religion as time goes by. And I think it's happening. I really do think it's happening. It's happening on a huge scale right now. I don't know numbers. I didn't look up numbers. I'd go and Google them just like you would to find out what statistics are. And they change all day, every day, I'm sure. But even if they were, let's say, not believing in the true ontology of the beliefs, I imagine the cultural and the traditions will still exist long after the belief in the God or the particular we're a chosen people or chosen race or this is our chosen land, et cetera, et cetera. That stuff might die out, but there's still going to be remnants. And I'd much rather that than nothing happen. I really appreciate that, man. For real, super chats are appreciated. Oh, snap. Derek, that has the name spelled properly, Derek Bennett, Atheologica. You are a pretty man. I'd like to take you out for a nice seafood dinner and then never call you again. Now, I'm not sure you could have been any nicer in that super chat, Derek, but you really, really, really went out of your way to be as polite as you could on that one. I might take you up on that, actually, because I haven't had seafood in a minute, especially shellfish, because I've been in Israel for 12 days, and you know what they think of shellfish. Hit me up, all right? It's very tempting. It legitimately is a tempting. I might take you up on that. Seriously, thank you. Thank you, Derek. Hey, by the way, Derek, you need to hit me up, if you really want to take me to dinner, because I'm wanting to do some more with you here on MythVision, and you do killer presentations. Go subscribe to Atheologica, please. Better yet, let me be patient with you, because, foreplay needs to last a little bit longer than we've already made it last. Let me pull your YouTube channel up, show you why you want to take me out for dinner. Atheologica, if I could spell. Here you go. Let me give everybody a tease as to subscribing to your YouTube channel, because I want to see you successful, especially for those shellfish. But seriously, go subscribe to Atheologica. Here's his YouTube channel. He's trying to do this full time, and he's hoping that at some point monetization will kick in and he can get the support he needs. And that way he can also take me out to dinner to get me shellfish. And he won't call it a date, but we know what it is. We know it's a date. It's a date. Thank you, Derek, for that super chat. Seriously. Dafa Rafiali, forgive me if I butchered your name. Is Jesus a prophet or God? What James Tabor and all that high caliber scholars said beside Bart Ehrman. Also, can you talk about fluid Old Testament? Getting hot in this. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty sweaty. I'm going to do this for a second here because I'm legitimately sweating right now. So Jesus is claimed in the New Testament to be both a prophet and a God. It depends on the text you're reading, but it's a weird world. The way we imagine prophets and God is like monotheism is anachronistic. So James Tabor and Bart Ehrman, I think, would agree and hold hand in hand on this issue of Jesus being a God. There wasn't just one God, and it was more in the category of henotheism. Even though there was one God that deserved worship, and that God alone was the ultimate God, right? There were many gods. Even Paul says the God of this world. Well, he's not talking about his God. He's talking about another God that is the God of this world. So like there are categories in divinity, and it's like ranks in which divinity is. And humans can ascend from mortal up into the category above and to become divine or become deities, which is the difficult thing. So my recommendation would be M. David Litwa has a book written about divinities. Bart Ehrman on how Jesus became God, his book and his course, that is a must listen to if you're interested in actually wrapping your head around this, because he breaks down this stuff that I'm describing to you in the Mediterranean world, under the Roman rule and the Greek world and all that, sons of God, how that all plays out in Jesus in the New Testament. Then how that ends up making him into God. There's a process that happens. Highly recommend it. I'm on board with them on this. So as far as the fluid Old Testament, well, the Sadducees thought something completely different than the Pharisees. People think the Pharisees were the conservatives, but the Sadducees were actually the conservatives. They were the ones who didn't believe in angels, didn't believe in a resurrection. They had certain beliefs that they did not believe that the Pharisees brought into the picture. And there are some scholars who think the Pharisees are holding out a tradition from Persia. And the Persians did believe in some of this stuff that we see in Second Temple Judaism. So did they have the same canon? I've always wondered this because Jesus says in one of those passages, it is written in your scriptures or in your text. And it's like the author makes it sound like Jesus is saying their literature. Like, I thought Jesus and you Jews all held to the same books and everything was the same in terms of scripture. Many scholars, Matthew Munger, Kip Davis, Dead Sea Scroll scholars. Matthew Munger specializes specifically on the book of, I can't think. It's a rewrite of Genesis. It's just showing the fluidity of the Hebrew Bible where they're already rewriting these older texts. And we find this within the Old Testament. You find this in First Kings, and then is it Chronicles? So Second Chronicles or Second Kings. I can't remember how the books end up comparing, but it's a rewrite of the earlier book about David and some of the other guys. But you have to think, okay, they didn't have a fixed canon. What the heck? Wouldn't that impact how we view this thing we call Judaism? The latest videos that are launched with Paula Fredrickson go into this. So if you're not a Patreon member, trust me, you won't miss out. It's only $3 a month. I make it affordable because I believe in people. So like it's affordable that anyone could come up with $3 US dollars a month and join. But people who decide to join more, those options are there. And I do believe in people. That's why I make it the lowest I can. Thank you for that. I hope I answered your question. I'm going to always refer you to academics, being I'm not one, but also because like it makes the most sense when you actually investigate this stuff. This makes more sense than anything I've ever come across. And then if they're wrong, at least you can challenge their thoughts using other scholarship and just get involved into it. Critical faculty in the house. Oh, snap. Oh, you're going to take me out to dinner too, man? I got to bring up your YouTube now because we have more work to do, my friend. Here it is. Critical Faculty, go subscribe. Wow, your YouTube channel really grew, man. You interview all sorts of academics. I highly recommend anybody who's watching, go subscribe. Dropping this joker in the chat. I hope, did I drop Derek Bennett's in the chat? I don't know. If I didn't, please, James Apperson or whoever's watching, add Atheologica in the chat if I didn't already. Anywho, subscribe to Critical Faculty. My buddy Hanny, he is someone who talks to lots of people in Arabic, and of course he has English on his channel as well, but he is critical of Islam and Christianity and pretty much all religions, and he takes a scientific approach. So please go subscribe. Do you like my outfit? Does it remind you of Egypt, my friend? I wonder how many people in Egypt rock this. I'm curious. Derek of Arabia is looking pretty good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Scrolling down. Oh, we have more super chats. Grays 174. Thank you for that. Do any of your takes on the Bible align more with traditional conservatives than critical scholars? It's an interesting question. Do any of your takes on the Bible align more with traditional conservatives? No, I don't think so. Not anymore. Not anymore. In fact, I'd say like the transformation of getting into scholarship, critical scholarship, in almost all ways, you realize that conservative, traditional Christian positions and thinking on these matters are missing something, or they're not really factoring in things because, and let me tell you why. I'm just going to give you one example, how Jesus became God. We just talked about this. When you're taking a critical approach on the New Testament and you look at the Christologies that are going on in Paul, the earliest accounts we have about Jesus is Paul. Paul mentions a creed in Philippians 2, Romans chapter 1, verse 4. And in this creed, in Romans 1:4, this is a church he's never met, he's never visited. And he's writing to them before he decides he wants to come visit them because his whole goal is to get to Spain. He writes about how Jesus, at his death, he then is resurrected, and by his resurrection becomes a son of God. Meaning, before Jesus was killed, before Jesus, while he was walking around or whatever, he was not a son of God. It was by his resurrection that he became a son of God. But the Gospels, which come later, paint a different narrative. They paint him as a son of God at baptism, adoptionalist, here at the baptism in Mark. At birth, Matthew and Luke, he becomes a son of God. And then eternally past, he is the eternal Logos in John, where he's the son of God. So the Christology develops and grows. And what traditional conservative Christians say is this: he was always eternally Logos, eternally Son of God, for example. When you listen to how Jesus became God, the lectures by Bart Ehrman, you find out that in the 3rd century, the church fathers who are debating this issue of how can he be God and be a man, and what about this whole multiplicities of God and the Father and Jesus, and this stuff that happens all the way into the 4th century about the Trinity, they end up ruling out, like condemning with a stamp, that saying Jesus became a son of God after his resurrection is heresy. Now, what does that mean? That means the earliest primitive version of Jesus being a son of God that is in our New Testament is heretical and wrong. But you could see why and how they did it. They had gospel literature that comes later. Well, you can't be a son of God after he's resurrected because he was a son of God before he was even born. Once you have these competing narratives about Jesus Christology, you have to go with one that makes him the biggest. And that's a problem when you have an earlier Christology that develops over time. So what happens is, what is probably more accurate to the earliest versions of Christianity, or Christ-following Christians, whatever you want to call them, because Christianity itself doesn't really exist. It was Jews first, before it even goes to Gentiles. So it was really a form of Jewish religion that followed a Christ man named Jesus. You end up in a situation where they themselves, the Christians, condemn the earliest practice and belief of Jesus. So I can't fall in line with traditional conservatives on many respects for this very reason that I'm describing to you right now. The idea of Jesus, the idea of Christ, the Christology, the understanding of how salvation works, you name it, all of this evolved over the centuries. And so traditional conservative Christianity or Christian scholars are all trapped anachronistically trying to project their beliefs and their understandings onto the Bible and not trying to be critical and pick it apart. Why? They think it's one narrative. They think that the New Testament is one story. And when you have one story that must be harmonized and it's got to match and it's got to fit together, then you end up in a problem. So I'd almost say in every aspect, I would probably be in some disagreement somewhere along the way. Thank you, Grace, for that question. It's a great question, and it was really well worded. I hope that was a sufficient response. Grace is back again. Thank you again. I actually heard a comparison between Sadducees and liberal progressive Christians as opposed to what you said about conservatives. What do you think? They're mistaken. And in fact, I plan on getting a scholar that is aware of Sadducees and their beliefs, but no, it's a much more primitive belief. In the Old Testament, there was no post-mortem resurrection concept. That's late Second Temple Judaism. The Sadducees did not believe in a resurrection. Well, that's not what the Pharisees believe. That is an older idea. The Sadducees were holding on to older beliefs. That doesn't mean they may not have had some things that they changed over time, but they were technically the conservatives in respect to biblical ideas. That's where I'm coming from. And I used to hear the same thing. The Pharisees were the conservatives who were so strict about washing your hands 17 times before you eat a meal. And of course they were. If that's what you're defining as conservative, what I'm defining as conservative here is who's holding on to the oldest, most primitive belief and not letting go. And the Sadducees are doing that. So that is what I mean by conservative. Thank you so much for that super chat. Again, great questions. William Aron says, did Israeli secular politics come up during any discussions on the trip? And do most Israeli citizens share nationalistic views across partisan lines? I don't know the end of that. I don't know the last part. One of our tour guide people were talking about the war between Syria and the Israelis, and it was a really sad state of affairs. Apart from that, they were really balanced. The tour guide that was describing it, and I think he would be more on the line of the Israeli side of things. But they were very balanced in saying, like, there's big issues between Muslims and Israelis in certain areas, especially up there near Caesarea Philippi and Caesarea Maritime, which is on the coast. There's a lot of separation, and you could see how Muslims build. They're more organic and natural in their growth, whereas the Jewish communities or the Israeli communities, they develop things differently. You can actually look at them and see, okay, that's the Muslim side. You could tell by how they build their houses. If you look at the other side, you could see that is built differently. There's also a big issue when we were going through the West Bank. There was signage with A, B, and C. I can't remember how he painted it and what each letter represents, but there are certain areas that are illegal for Israelis to go into because it's Palestinian territory, and vice versa. Like, you're not allowed to go here and they're not allowed to go here. It's probably not safe if you're one or the other extreme. But I said, what if I went into the Palestinian area? Would I be under threat? And they go, well, as long as you're not like extremely nationalistic Israeli, then you'll be probably safe. And I'm not going to test it, but we didn't really get into too much of the politics that goes on over there. But I do know that there's a big case. Let me bring it up. Okay, I'm going to read you something here because I think it's relevant. I was looking this up. So Israelis apart. I can't even pronounce this right. But there's a cruel system of domination and crime against humanity that has actually been investigated by Israelis themselves. So it's not like it's a biased party going in and just trying to pick this apart. But I'm not going to get into politics here, but I just want to mention there are real issues going on between both Israelis and Palestinians and the abuse of Palestinians in the West Bank. So there's real crap that is happening over in Israel. I never had to see any of that while we were there. We drove on a main highway and we never stopped at any of those spots, but that's about as much as I know at this point. Yeah, that's about as much as I know. And if I speak any further on it, I'm speaking out of ignorance. What scholars said about Quran, is it actually preserved? How good is the preservation? Can you elaborate? Also, what is the mistake of the Septuagint? So this is an interesting question. The Quran is at least really well preserved back to Uthman, according to the scholars that I talk with. There are a few scholars who think that there's like a development of the Quran, that by the late 7th century, you finally get it in its final forms. But the other scholars I talk with, like Manaiman Pun and, Haitham Sidki and, Robert G. Hoyland and others, that would say they would go with Uthman onward for the Quran's preservation, and that there's a pretty good preservation. That doesn't mean it's perfect. There are grammatical differences that happen throughout this preservation over time with, I think they call them qira'ats. And anyway, I'm not an expert on this, but this is what the scholars are saying, is they end up canonicizing. I don't know if that's the word I'm trying to use. They made it canonical, these errors, saying that they're not errors. So it's part of these discrepancies that are found within the manuscript traditions that become canonical. It's like finding errors and say, oh, those aren't really errors all along. They're actually part of Holy Writ and part of the whole thing that is supposed to be this way. As far as the Septuagint goes, what is the mistake of Septuagint? I don't understand the question. I could rabbit trail into something that is irrelevant probably to your question about the differences when the Greek translation of the Hebrew is taking place. There's a scholar who thinks the Greek might have been the oldest, but most scholars would say the Greek is translating the Hebrew. And there's some Greek ideas, especially with Hellenism taking place after Alexander the Great, that seep their way into that translation from Hebrew into Greek. But I'm not sure what your question is, so I don't want to butcher it. Feel free to let me know if there's something I missed. Woohoo says Sea of Galilee. Could that lake really get rough? I actually recorded a video with a boat. His whole life, he's been running a boat on the Sea of Galilee, Lake of Tiberias. And it's a huge, huge lake. It really is. It's massive. We asked him about storms, and he said at a certain season of the year, the storms get really rough. And he mentioned how he had one TV evangelist come on, and they had to rent out 4 other boats. So there's 5 boats. And this is during the rough season. He's giving a sermon on one of these boats, and the storm starts coming up, and they're clashing boats. They had to untie them. People were falling on the floor in the boat and everything. So he says it gets really rough. I never witnessed it. I'm just taking his word for it that it can get pretty rough. And I wouldn't be shocked. It would not surprise me. Forgive me if you hear landscaping. They're cutting the grass outside. So moving on. Craigenford, John White. Pulling up your YouTube, man. You blew up, literally. And I'm so proud of you. So Craigenford is actually a good friend of mine who's into mythology, just like we are here at MythVision. If you haven't subscribed, you must. His channel is almost double mine. And dude, you are at what, like 10,000 subs? Where I was like 45, maybe 1,000, something like that. I don't know. Then you just blew up because he's doing some really good content. Go subscribe to his channel for sure. Let me post that in the chat. I like to show and give a shout out to the channels so people know the community better. Hallelujah, dude. During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church displayed St. Anne's, Jesus's grandma, head displayed at 6 different locations at the same time. Does that mean she had 6 heads? John, you wouldn't believe me if I told you this. Yes, she had 6 heads, and it's freaking true. And you have to believe it because the church says so. So without a doubt, John, we know it happened. And we know she was a 6-headed human. I mean, if Jesus can walk on water, why can't his grandma have 6 heads, right? It's obvious. And if you think otherwise, it's your anti-supernatural bias that is causing you from recognizing the reality of a 6-headed grandma. Just a fact. I want to make that clear so that everybody knows. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. You know, it's a very important issue in our study of the church. And I mean that. I'm not joking at this point. I'm serious. Relics are huge, even to this day. Dr. James Tabor on our bus said that they're still selling the breast milk of Mary all throughout Europe today. The True Cross is all over. And if you combine the True Cross, all of its pieces, I wouldn't be shocked if entire infrastructures of enormous buildings could be built from the amount of wood that is found from all the pieces of the True Cross. That's because that was the size of the real cross that Jesus was crucified on. Duh, right? But great point. Thank you for joining in the chat and throwing me some love here. It's been a while since I've done any super chats, and you know, if you're doing this full time, you know how much pain in the butt it is to try and do this and keep doing this. The super chats really mean a lot to me, John. I really appreciate that. You always showing up. We're due to do a dragon episode actually in Leviathan. So I need to link up with you and make that happen sometime soon. But look up the relics, check them out. The Shroud of Turin is another relic, and it's a late one at that. So thank you. Love you, man. Hit me up. Message me. You got my WhatsApp, and let's make something happen. Vision plant. Do you think Arabia was mostly pagan on the eve of Islam, or was there a significant Jewish and Christian presence? Without a doubt, I'm not sure of the word significant, but I think significant. Jewish and Christian presence. Yes, I do think so. And in fact, a good friend of mine who remains anonymous, I'll have to show you an email that I got from him today. Bear with me just a moment as I pop this up. Okay. It's funny because today I got an email about this very issue. All right. Let me know that everybody could see this. Christian monastery built more than 1,400 years ago. That means if Muhammad is in the 600s, right? This is at least 200 years before Muhammad. Before Islam's prophet Muhammad was born, is uncovered in the United Arab Emirates. Am I saying that right? Emirates, I want to say. Remains of ancient Christian monastery have been discovered. Carbon dating suggests the monastery was constructed between 534 and 656 AD. This means it was built before Islam started. The Prophet Muhammad was born around 570 AD. Archaeologists uncovered cells where monks spent time in solitude, along with rooms for baptism and baking wafers for communion. Here are some images. This is an image of the site. An aerial view of the Christian monastery shows its intricate details. There is a single aisle church, which had additional rooms for baptism and baking wafers for communion. Cells where monks spent time in solitude were also uncovered. Archaeologists also unearthed cells where monks spent time in solitude pictured. The complex is believed to be more than 1,400 years old, which predates Islam in the region. So like right here in the region, we have Christian monasteries and churches. And by the way, this is just one email. If you go and look this up, there are actual academics that have written extensively on this. And many of the churches and synagogues in this region actually get overtaken by Islam, and they just co-opt them. They co-opt the churches, these buildings, make them into mosques over time. So yes, without a doubt, this is one of the reasons, one among many reasons, even within the Quran itself, that I would say it's a man-made religion like all else. And you can see the thumbprints. Like, You have to believe, if you're a fundamentalist, and there are Muslim friends of mine who aren't fundamentalists, by the way, I encourage more people to encourage them to take the will and drive Islam away from fundamentalism, because you have to believe nonsense. Like, you have to accept narratives that are late in the biographies of Muhammad. Muhammad never left Arabia. Muhammad never was a merchant. He was only a shepherd. That's right. Because why? All the prophets were shepherds in the Bible. And if he was a merchant, then he had to barter, which means he had to lie, because that's part of the business. In fact, I recorded a video that's going to come out. Me and Neil and Ryan and my buddy Ross and others, we were down in the actual aisles in Jerusalem where you barter for things, and you never give them what they ask for. You always lowball, and then you work out and barter a price. You haggle. It's part of the business. This is what Muhammad would have been doing, bartering to get his income. They don't like that picture, a lot of them, because it makes him look like he has to deal in kind of a dishonest trade. There's a lot of reasons, but Christianity and Judaism, I think, was right there in the region. And even the audience of the Quran, I think, understands the biblical worldview in this region. Like, there's no place in the Quran where he's like having to go, okay, I know you've never heard of Moses and you've never heard of Abraham, but let me introduce these people to you, since you pagans have never understood about the monotheistic worldview that I'm going to bring to you, present to you. No, like, they know who these characters are when you read the Quran. They already know who they are. So the tradition's been there, in my opinion, and many other scholars would agree. Thank you for that super chat, Vision Plant. Great question. Indo, did you find Jesus' body? Actually, no. But the tomb, and I won't get into this in depth, but the tomb that is possibly the family tomb of Jesus that James Tabor talks about, we did go and visit that. And the Talpiot tomb is what it's called. There are ossuaries that were taken out of this tomb that are in the Israeli museum. And I got to go to that museum and take pictures and video of that with James Tabor commenting about it. We aren't certain. I haven't studied it extensively or dove deep into it, but Dr. James Tabor, he doesn't know for sure, but he has his opinions. And I'd love to do an episode with him about that as time goes on. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Gray's 174, was the grass green or brown this time of year? Green. It's hot out there. It's like 88 degrees outside where we were at. And in Qumran, it was the hottest, right near the Dead Sea, when we were seeing where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I entered. You weren't supposed to. I'm sorry. I didn't enter any of the caves where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls at, but I filmed them. And there were bats in there. Tons of bats in those caves. Lots of bat. What do they call it? Bat poo. It was all in the caves. And you could tell nobody had been there for a long time, because when you walk in there, look, I'm telling on myself right now. When you walk in there, there's no footprints, and you could tell from the ceilings. Like, it was crazy. I was supposed to cover my face and go in, but I went in without anything covering my face. But at least I didn't stay in too long, because they say it's really bad. Bob Marley. Derek is having a joke with the headscarf for a joke, right? Dude, this is not a joke. This is serious. This is real serious. Dafa says, is Jesus Yahweh? Is Jesus the creator God? Most of the scholars that are critical scholars that I talk to will say no. Now, I know Margaret Barker takes a different position. She thinks that Jesus is Yahweh, even in Mark. And I know most Christian apologists think that Jesus is Yahweh. They think that he is God, and that's their approach. Me, nah. I think that he's a demigod. And I think at this point, there was no problem with having many gods, as long as you worship the one true one at the top. There's an article by James F. McGrath that I highly recommend people read. It's free. It's online. What is monotheism? Go read it. It is well worth a read, but that will help you understand. And he deals with this within like 6-page article. He deals with that development of monotheism. So I don't think he's Yahweh. I see how and why people later said he was Yahweh. So there you have it. I really appreciate that super chat, by the way. Holy Humanist. Uh-oh. Now I got to pull your YouTube up. Bear with me. Who's here? Probably the landscaping person. I don't know if they were yelling at me or if they. Hello. All right, Nuria, got to give you a shout out for real. I'm burning up in this thing. Well, no, you just came late because I was getting hot in this thing. It's okay. You're fashionably late here. Yeah, I'll put it back on just to make sure I don't look like a complete imbecile and I know what I'm doing a little bit here. But my head is too big for this. The guy gave me multiple to help me out with it. All right, you're Gutra slipping a bit. Had to do a double take seeing you. Welcome back and thanks for sharing your trip. Hope it was as epic as you imagined. Well, I hope people go subscribe to your YouTube channel. You're kicking butt, taking names. I really appreciate the super chat. The trip was really interesting. I had a blast. I learned a lot. We went to a lot of these locations. A lot of people commented on my stuff and were saying, you're going to, reconvert or you're going to get sucked into this thing. And like, don't be a party pooper. Let me enjoy the trip. I am a skeptic and I'm going to use critical thinking in everything that I do, the best that I know how. And I'm not speaking to you, Nuria. I'm speaking to those people who kept saying, you're going to come back with Messiah complex and this and that. But it was really an experience that I'm glad I had. And I was able to I realized something that I need to do, and that is understand the geography better. And then when a place is mentioned in the Bible, get on a map and check it out, because I went to these places most likely, at least passing through. We couldn't do exhaustive commentaries on this stuff because some of the places were loaded with tourists. Other places didn't have many tourists, and we did a little more time, what was going on there. And a lot of the places Dr. James Tabor did the digs at. So I still don't have this right on my head. I'm sweating. Look how shiny my forehead is. Ugh. But I'm doing it for you, ladies and gentlemen, to know that it is chic Derek. Or I liked how someone said Derek of Dubai, because it rhymes better. Derek of Dubai. Thank you for that love there. I appreciate the super chat. I am back, and there is no place like home. I can tell you that much. I really can. It's been very comforting knowing I'm in my house again and relaxing. So thank you. Appreciate that. Go subscribe to Nuria, Holy Humanist. And we should do more in the future. And when we do, I'll probably rock this outfit on purpose and we can do a call-in show. Derek converted. Didn't you hear? Old school. Good for you. I wish I was growing up quicker than that, but it is what it is. Can't help it. Wish I could say that. Sorry, I'm jumping in the middle of this. My head is too big for this. Yes, it is. You can see this is a legit whatever you call it, but I got a big noggin. The guy who sold it to me was like, dude, you have a big head. Thanks, man. I appreciate the compliment. James, thank you so much for plugging Holy Humanist in the house. For real, though, you really should go subscribe to her channel. She's doing some great stuff. Seeing him was seeing the Father. Yes. And that, how do you interpret that? If this means that he is the Father, literally, well, then you end up in a situation with modalism, where Jesus, the Father, and the Holy Spirit are one person. But no, they're not one person. They're supposed to be multiple people in one being. And then it's just all sorts of stuff. This is true, Cindy. This is true. There is actually a city in Israel, Palestine, called Derek with an H. And maybe I'm not even pronouncing it right, but it literally means the way and or the path. Then there is a king in Europe that his name was Derek, but in his reference, it means leader of the people. Coincidence? I think not. Nuria says, haha, Lord, yes, Derek, sounds like a plan, homie. Absolutely. Maybe I'll wear an abaya. Am I pronouncing that right? Abaya? You have to. There's no reason that you shouldn't in this. If we're going to do it, we got to go all in. We got to go all in. I really appreciate everybody, like for real, in the chat showing love. I hope that the outfit was amusing and fun. I hope that you stay tuned. Join the Patreon. I'm obviously going to be leaking a lot of my Israel trip there on the Patreon early. For those who support me, I've already done 4 videos in the past 2 days, today and yesterday, on Paula Fredrickson. I'm also going to be editing 2 more videos of Paula and getting those out in the next few days. I have, let me pop this up, sharing my screen again. This is John Dominic Crossan. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos with John Dominic Crossan that I still need to edit and put up. I also have these videos with Dr. James Tabor that I'm editing that I need to put up. And so the ones here that are darker, they match these. So I probably have like 5 or 6 videos, maybe 7 that I need to do with Dr. James Tabor. Perfect. Okay, hold on. You don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. I have a special guest for you. Come here. The Queen of Arabia is here. The Queen of Arabia is here. I got to put this on autofocus so everybody can actually see it. You don't have to do much talking, baby. Come here. Come here. Come sit on the oil rig owner's lap. So look at, I'm sorry, it's sliding. Let me do this here. How do I turn off the thing so it stops focusing? All right, there we go. Okay, there you go. All right, so we bought this outfit. It is slippery, honey. You can't help that. Here, sit down in the chair. Sit down. You got to sit in your throne, honey.
That is true.
You have to sit in your throne. Okay, so literally, scooting you in. Look at this. This is actually like really. She went all out. Can I pull this for a second, just to show people the outfit? So this was hand knit. Hand knit.
I don't know if you can see it.
No, I mean I don't know if people can. You might need to stand up here. We'll back it up. Girl, you look good when you back the thing up. You're a big fine woman when you back. Sorry, that was
big?
That was it not that,
big woman?
No,
I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean. All right, hold on. Let me go like this. So I'm just zooming up, letting them see your outfit. We're gonna go down.
Yeah, I was gonna say my outfit's done here. Don't show my boots.
I'm trying not to show the boots. This is all hand knit, super sexy. There you go. You just witnessed the Arabian goddess.
Am I done here?
You take this off 1 second. One more.
No,
one more, just to show them the gold rings that go around. This is authentic, by the way. Me no lie. Me tell you the truth. Seriously, it is beautiful. You look good, baby. You look sexy. You look really, really beautiful. Anyway, and now that I have you right here, just a few words. Just a few words about the trip.
It was fun. It was fun, and we got to learn about.
I'm gonna hold this like they say that they're supposed to hold it with one hand, like, and then where? I wish I had my knife. Go ahead.
Are you done?
Yep, I'm done. Come into it so everybody can hear your thoughts of the trip.
Well, we had fun. It was nice. It was a lot of walking and a lot of what's the word? Sexism.
Yeah, you'd say, yeah. You could say misogyny or something like that. That was pretty much it.
I mean, that's the gist of it.
You enjoyed the trip, though?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
What was your favorite part?
The Dead Sea, floating the Dead Sea. My favorite
That was
part.
so.
He made me get out.
It was the water. Her favorite part is the water. Well, look, everybody wants to watch you and talk to you, so I'll be back in an hour, babe. Just talk to everybody in the chat. Love you. Love you, babe. Bye.
But
Spend
stop.
some time talking to everybody.
Stop it.
Well, why not?
All right.
I love you.
Love you.
All right. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I promise you I will not go and find 3 more of you. Okay? You're my only one. Huh?
I'm the favorite always.
You're always my favorite no matter what, okay? Even if 3 more did show up, you'd still be the favorite.
Yeah, as long as I'm favorite. I don't care.
As long as she's favorite, she doesn't care, she said. Oh, snap. All right. Someone says, so much prettier than jeans and t-shirts. I'm not going to lie. Like, it really is a beautiful outfit. It really, really is. And when I saw her put it on, I was like this guy right here. Like, wow. I have to get her this outfit. Thank you so much for those compliments. She really, really rocks it. You're not lying. There are ladies in the chat, babe, that love it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep making a rocket. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get himself in trouble on stream. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. But it's also a joke on the fact that you can have multiple wives in Islam. So, you know how that goes. Got to have at least 3 or 4, right? Teasing. Yeah.
How much do you want to pay Caleb to clean out the car?
Is he going to clean it good?
Yeah, he's trying to make some money, yeah.
Well, whatever you think's fair. You decide. All right. With this beautiful outfit, you don't have the urge to convert the religion who created this outfit? No, not even close. Nope. But that doesn't mean I don't think the outfit's pretty cool looking. I mean, I wouldn't wear this every day, that's for sure. Anywho, everybody, I really appreciate it wearing my halo here. I really appreciate everybody joining the chat. I figure why not pop this joker on and hop into the live stream, come hang out with you, and tell you a little bit about our trip in Israel. I had a blast. I learned a lot. There are a lot of things to talk about, and we have a lot of videos coming. I'm hoping I can put together a documentary type thing with Dr. James Tabor, and we'll have that out like a course where it'll be someone you can purchase it. I'll be leaking stuff, of course, that we did in Israel on the Patreon and eventually out onto YouTube. But what else? Is there any questions from any of you? You don't have, I mean, I love super chats, but you don't have to. If you want to ask me a question right now, I better ask before we get off of here, because I am going to go back to editing the 2 videos for Paula and then getting my Patreons all that good information and try to catch up with everything because I'm very far behind. If we are powerful, let your family go where they want to and leave the house. I don't understand. Throw me a couple questions before I let you go. Whew. All right. No questions. There's almost 300 of you. We had almost 370, but till my wife showed up and we were just sitting here playing around and not engaging anymore, nobody wants to ask no questions. Oh, here we go. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where you is at? Where'd it go? James says Tovia Singer has a new video where he educated a young Christian woman about the real meaning of the text that Christians mistakenly think predict Jesus. Yeah, I saw that. That was actually a really good video. And he's right about that. I mean, it's not talking about Jesus. It just gets reinterpreted for Jesus from Christians. Good question. What surprised me the most? I was mostly recording, which is difficult because you're trying to take it in, but you're also trying to work. Once again, I think it's the realizing that the events described in some of the places in the Bible, because, I went from Jesus is God and every word is inerrant, infallible, and true to none of this is true and it's probably all complete mythology and there's nothing historical here at all, full-on hardcore mythicist to the extreme. Now I'm centering myself where I'm like, okay, there's definitely mythology and definitely fiction or things that aren't true, didn't really happen. But there are places, there are people, there are events that I think did happen. And these people, places, and things were in this area. And so when I was there and saw the giant edge of the Temple Mount where James was thrown over and how high that fall was down into the valley, right? So I'm thinking in my head, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, this guy would have been thrown off the edge of this Temple Mount here. Or looking at the Mount of Olives and imagining someone is viewing the temple from that angle, as described in Mark 9 or Matthew 24, Luke 21. Going to places I didn't even know much about, Caesarea Philippi, and Jesus is described as being there. Or Nazareth. We went to Nazareth. We went to Sepphoris, which is right next to Nazareth. Like, seeing that stuff made me go like, this is really interesting. How did these authors use these places and events and mythologize them? Was a big question in my head as I started going into these places. That, I think, is what surprised me the most about it. Other than that, I mean, nothing really surprised me. I guess another thing that kind of surprised me was the caves. There's so many freaking caves. Like, I can guarantee you without a doubt, there are many caves right now over in the Qumran area that have never been investigated or have, over the 2,000 years, the entrances to them have crumbled. So inside those caves somewhere, there is literature. I can guarantee you, we just don't have it. It is somewhere out there. I'm like, without a doubt, convinced that there are caves out there that have scrolls we have not found yet, that are somewhere long. I can't tell you how long the Dead Sea is. I mean, we drove in a bus going 50, 60 miles an hour for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And I'm like looking over and there's still hills with caves and entrances. And I'm thinking they were all along this thing. Another thing I think that was pretty impressive was floating in the Dead Sea. I tried to swim down and it like pushes you up. So that was pretty cool. Don't open your eyes. And I didn't, but even tasting the water, it is like the sea, like the actual ocean times 10 in saltiness, maybe more than 10. Mo, have you met Rabbi Tovia Singer? Absolutely. In fact, I mean, let me see if I can at least just tease y'all, just show y'all that I did meet him. Oh, that was our first week in Netanya on the coast, the Mediterranean coast. Let me see if I can pop up just to show you. Not going to get lost in it, but what is this video? That wasn't it. Sorry, I'm looking for the Tovia Singer video that I haven't edited yet. But yeah, he came and visited us. We were at the King Solomon Hotel in Jerusalem, which is right near the King David Hotel. They just call him that. Where are you at, Rabbi? I don't even know. It's somewhere in here. I've got so much footage that I have to sift through it. Mo, thank you for that super chat. I wish I could pop it up, but I literally have to search further and further to find it. Was there any other questions? I don't want to. What surprised you the most? JV said. Did you have any subjective mystical experience in Israel? No. And by the way, Elon is someone I met in Israel. I believe this is the same Elon from Israel. Correct me if I'm wrong. I met a fan, someone who actually said, dude, you're in Israel. I can't miss up this opportunity. So he drove to the Sea of Galilee. I can't remember the name of the hotel, but we were at the hotel there and came and hung out with me and Neil in our live stream. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's you. Eventually, I plan on going to places like that. But I think before I go to those places, I might want to go to Greece, Athens. I want to see the Mediterranean world more, then go to other places. I don't know. Percentage of atheists on Earth. I would look it up, Google it. You'd probably find it quicker than I would. Isn't the Bible more like a Greek play with drama, tragedy, comedy, and satires with Philo's rules and Pythagorean theory? I would say there's a lot more going on there, but I mean, there's a lot of tragedy, drama, comedy, satire, and there is some history that has been mythologized and things like that. So I don't know about the Pythagorean theory stuff. Like there might be some mathematics going on in the genealogies in Genesis and like some places here and there, but some people who went to Jerusalem became crazy as if the city can lead to madness and mysticism. Have you ever heard about Jerusalem syndrome? Yes, I read that earlier on the live stream. It also happens to people who go to some places in India. Yeah, I imagine that to be the case for sure. It would not shock me. People get there and they're like ready to kiss the ground and walk on their knees for 5 miles to Jesus, the whole, So thank you, Bob Marley. I really appreciate that. Best thing you ate while you were there, worst thing you ate. Worst thing I ate was eating in the restaurant at the Israel Museum. I bought some meal and it had the weirdest little crunchy ball looking things that didn't taste good. The best I ate was the first hotel we went to in Netanya. They had all kosher, everything's kosher, but it was just amazing. Like they better than the other hotels had of kosher food. So it was a variety of foods. There was a lot of hummus, lots of bread, Anyway, they like dice up all the vegetables, the whole nine. Like everything is always adding tomatoes and onions and bell peppers to your eggs, to your omelet, to your this, to your that. That would be my favorite. Was that. I can't say a specific thing about the meal, but there was lots of good things. I'd like to know how your experience was with Israeli customs officers at your port of entry. British Muslims who travel to Israel get a lot of grief from the customs and made to wait hours and hours. I got in pretty quickly. Right there, we went in, showed my passport. They said, "What are you here for?" "I'm here on tour." "Have a good trip." "Oh, when are you getting back?" Or "When are you leaving?" That kind of thing. And then I left. On our way back through customs, we had to go through American customs. Then we had to get our bags searched and all that kind of stuff. That was it. MythVision podcast. Derek, did you see the Sodom and Gomorrah site and the sulfur balls, which have 99% sulfur content, not found anywhere else on the planet? I did not go to the Sodom and Gomorrah site, but I hear there's a site down the road where some people claim it is. There is a hotel on the Dead Sea called the Sodom and Gomorrah Hotel. I imagine the mythology of Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot's wife play a role with the Dead Sea being it's so salty. I wouldn't be shocked if that is the geography the Bible is trying to paint the narrative from. Wouldn't shock me a bit. But no, we didn't go see that. And just like the concept of giants, people think, oh, there were really giants in the world. Well, as one scholar put it, and Ronald Hindle was one of them, Joshua Bowen was another, when a nomadic people have to become nomadic, let's say they were situated. Let's just say the 282 people watching this live stream right now, we're in a region in the Middle East, somewhere in Canaan. We build a nice walled city, massive walled city. We have agriculture going on, you name it. And then all of a sudden we go through some serious droughts. So now we have to become nomadic. We have to move along where the food is and where the water is. We leave this city, forsake it for centuries. Nobody's living there. Next thing you know, a nomadic group moves in and goes, whoa, look at these massive walls. Look at these massive objects. There's no way that humans could have built this because, well, you're a nomad. You've never built structures like that. There hasn't been a massive civilization that you've been involved with. So then a mythology develops around these big structures, big buildings and temples. And how do they get built? Giant people or giant gods. The gods must have built it, or giants must have built it. So I imagine the geography of certain locations paint the way for the mythology that we're reading about, whether it be serpents in the garden or giants in the Bible, or when it comes to Lot's wife and Sodom and Gomorrah and the idea of sulfur. That's probably because in the geography, a lot of these elements play a role. So they write a narrative fitting the geographic location and their perception. My thoughts. That's my thoughts. And of course, there's some academics who think that, but they help persuade me on that kind of idea. You just need to look at the Hebrew and it finds, okay, I'm in the middle of a conversation. Turns really dark if you still don't believe after they try to preach your head off, if you catch my drift. Huh. I would love to spend a few years looking at yet undiscovered caves across the biblical regions. If you do, you need a ton of water. It's extremely difficult. That terrain is very, very difficult terrain. So, yeah. Let me see. Any other super chats? Or nope, no super chats. Any questions? What about no? Oh, here it is. Is the Quran Quran consonant text perfectly preserved? Don't know. I could ask Marijn van Putten, but I did not want to bother him this late. I know he's sleeping where he's at in Europe. I'd be interested in asking him, but when you say perfectly preserved, I'll just tell you this: the academics that are not religious, meaning they're not Muslims, when they hear perfectly preserved, they want to know what you mean. And if we mean down to the dot, down to the T, everything is identical, then no. Is it extremely well preserved? Then yes. But like when a Muslim says it's perfect, that there can't be any imperfections, I can tell you that these academics would say no. And we know that from many internal reasons, and we can look at the manuscript tradition, seeing differences. But also, when you go back, you have the lower palimpsest manuscript that shows an earlier Quran. There's a lot of stuff to dig into there. Rhea, thank you for the... Is it Rhea Morgan? Forgive me if I butcher your first name. Thank you for the super sticker. Did you have a question? Stan, it's read Jonah, right? Jonah being swallowed by the big fish. That's a comedy. If you read it carefully, it's meant to be comical. I didn't see a question from Reyes, so thank you so much for that super sticker. They have to have Derek-sized heads. Psh, duh. Good vibes, Derek, because anyone who harms his family is a bad egg. That's true. That is true. I ain't about to do that. That's for sure. Godless Granny's channel. Go subscribe. Go subscribe. For real, for real. This is the community we have. I appreciate the mods, the members, our Patreon supporters. Like, I'm going to mention it again. For real, just dropped 4 videos Paula Fredrickson videos. Don't miss them. They're there. She does some great stuff, and I put some serious editing into this one right here. We were wrong. Everything we thought about the Jewish religion was wrong. Jesus was wrong. Paula Fredrickson. I took a picture and sent it to the Patreon, just showing him I landed in the airport. I was so miserable, tired right there in that picture. Going to Israel, and of course, more Paula Fredrickson videos that I've done. I got a lot of work to do, everybody. I got so much to do. And I had to stop in, show you some love, and answer questions, tell you how the trip went, and looking forward to editing some of the stuff. So thanks for the questions. Appreciate that. I feel sorry for you. Every story in the Torah is holly and speaks of the correction of the human soul until we acquire the attributes of the Creator, ushering peace to the world. I had to just add that dramatic effect to make your comment there more interesting. Well, I can't say I feel sorry for you back because I don't know how good life is for you. You know what I'm saying? But you can feel sorry for me. I don't mind. My life is great. I love it. And I'm happier than ever. So yeah, thanks for feeling sorry for me. Appreciate it. Okay. Truth that Psalms were meant to be taken literal. Hell, the sacred holly. That's right, JV. I was just thinking, don't take Holly's name in vain, for sure. Hallowed be Holly's name. Absolutely. Did you meet any Semites on your trip while you were gone? All the frog channels blew up with what is a Semite thanks to that rapper dude. Yeah, met plenty of Semites. I mean, most of Jerusalem are people who are Semites. So yeah, absolutely. And I saw briefly that Kanye made a bunch of comments and I'm like, honestly though, what is the deal? What is the deal with attacking Jews? Dude, I think Jews in their religion, the ontology of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the God of Israel and all that, I don't believe it. I think it's false. I think it's wrong. I think if we look at rabbinic Judaism, we're going to find that they are just going off of their own version of this, and they're wrong. We can be critical. I think Christians are wrong. I think Muslims are wrong. At the end of the day, that their belief system, that Muhammad was really a prophet, that the angel Gabriel really did. We can do all that. And I do that on this channel. But I don't understand the hate toward Jews. I just don't get it. It does not make sense to me. Just like I wouldn't understand the hate towards Christians. Now, some Christians, I have to back up and say, there are some that could be a pain in the ass, that are absolute radical fundamentalists like Darth Dawkins and people like that are just, you almost want to just say they're horrible individuals. They're just not good people. You can tell that if he's married, I feel really bad for the spouse in the situation. This is me being honest. I'm just venting. But I don't understand why there's so much hate towards people groups like that. I just don't get it. So when you have an obsession towards a people group and you go off into conspiracy theories about it even further, that to me is just nutty, dude. Check yourself. Go read some books and don't just read the propaganda from people who hate Jews and want to see Jews get, beat up or destroyed or any of that. That's important. I'm not speaking to the person who just commented. I'm literally speaking about people who are on YouTube in the comment sections. They're just anti-Jew to the core. I call out Muslims who are anti-Jewish and they're attacking Jews and they're to the point of being anti-Jewish. They hate Jews. I'll call out anybody if I think that they're hating. And I think that's what we should be doing. We should try to bring proper knowledge to the world, educate the world. Don't bring a bunch of bullshit. Stop teaching hate And if you take one moment metaphorically to put the shoe of the believer on, right? Like even Darth Dawkins, while I think he's not a good person, if you try to put the shoe of these people on, I imagine if I put the shoe on, and this is me, this might sound derogatory. I'm not trying to be that way. I really am not. I honestly think he suffers. Something's really wrong in his mind. And I think he suffers. Something's wrong. Can't put my finger on it. I'm not going to diagnose the guy. There's something wrong though. And if you put the shoe on someone who was a fundamentalist like I was, I know what that's like. And I know that it isn't a simple snap of information that gets you to jump to the other side. It is a long process because it's not always up here. It's deeply seated inside of your experience, inside of your lifestyle, your culture, everything you've been raised to believe. So patience might be significant in these kind of issues as well. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but I want to emphasize that. That's why I can be great friends with Rabbi Tovia Singer. Do I think he's wrong at the end of the day on the God of Israel existing and things like that? Yeah, I do. Does he think I'm wrong about God not existing or that his God is not a real God that exists? Yeah, he does. He thinks I'm wrong. He's cool with me. I'm cool with him. We totally disagree at the end of the day. I'm cool with many Christians. We totally disagree at the end of the day. I try to find common ground. I try to find things that we relate to because I'm more of a relationship builder than a breaking people down kind of thing. But there's my Sunday school lesson about the whole Jewish issue and how we should treat people. Shoot, I got Muslim friends who probably going to see this video with me rocking the cap, looking like an Arabian prince, and they're probably going to smile and go, that's my boy. Some might be offended, but someone will probably be like, you know what, Derek, that looks good on you, man. You're rocking the culture. I don't know, but I don't see why they wouldn't, because they know I don't have ill intent, even if I disagree. It's the people in the chat who say you're demon possessed, Satan has your soul, and you're like, they're on the full-fledged nutty side of things that you really go, man, they would drink the Kool-Aid if they had the opportunity. Like that is the stuff that you see in the chat. So super chat by William Arens. I must go to the Compass Games town hall site to continue my unfinished conversion to the wargaming religion. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it, William. I really do. Hate comes from tribalism, Johnny Blaze said. I think you're right. I think at least mostly, right? Someone says people hate what they don't understand and then they project their shadows on others. Interesting. You only hate milk chocolate. That's first. I love milk chocolate. So, see, can we be friends? We disagree. You know, Derek, it's a thin line, bro. Respect your family. I do respect my family. Agreed, Derek. Especially monstrous behaviors indicate lack of ability to work through especially terrible pains. Yes, he is. He is. Best boss I ever had was Jewish. He died. I miss him. He threw us Christian employees the best Christian holidays, but we never had Jewish holidays at work. Wow. Look at that. Here's some testimony in the house. Seriously. Thank you. The Muslims hating Jews is political. They lived together for more than 1,000 years. Yeah, and it depends on the time in history, right? So there are times when they get along and there are times that they don't. And there's all sorts of stuff. Even Muhammad, there's horrible stories, if you read about it, on what happened to some of the Jews, even during Muhammad's life, according to some of the stories that are told, pretty bad. It's pretty bad, some of the things there. So if you're following your prophet to a T and you're radical, you could see some things coming out and you buy into the tradition. Depends on the hadith that people accept and whatnot. But yeah, the killing of Jewish tribes in the locale where Muhammad was a thing according to some of the tradition. You're possessed by demons. That's why we love you. Nathan, you weren't supposed to tell anybody. I'm going to have to curse you for this. Anyway, back to business. Did you visit the real Nazareth? Yes, I did. I have seen reading and researching the issue of a lot recently, and I believe the real Nazareth was actually a little hamlet in the plain of Gennesareth. I don't know if that was the name that Tabor brought it up as, but yes, the real Nazareth was a little hamlet. It was a nothing. In fact, it was a nothing just over 100 years ago. It didn't really start popping until recently, in the past century. You will see some footage of that. I have that. Where's Neil at? And did he do on the trip? He went with me on the trip. Neil was lucky. Neil got a special golden ticket to visit Egypt for 3 days, which I was jealous of, but I was already ready to go home. So he got to go actually record the pyramids in Egypt. So he has special footage I don't have. Be on the lookout. What scholars said about 2 million Jew in Exodus? I think it's more than that if you factor in the family, the kids, but I think it was 600,000 soldier men who were ready to fight in the Exodus and their families, which would have equated 3.5 million, some estimates, which would have been more than the population in Egypt, which means it didn't happen. Yeah. It didn't happen. Anyway, why does anti-Semitism only refer to hating Jews? What about all the other Semites like Arabs and Phoenicians? Why doesn't the ADL protect them as well? Well, this is an interesting question. I would think, and just to answer your Jews thing specifically, we literally just a century ago had a Holocaust of Jews, like the absolute annihilation of trying to exterminate Jews. That is a huge thing. Like, we can downplay it and go, oh, yeah, well, this has happened to these people. I'm not downplaying that. That is a thing. But in actual large worlds, like a huge scale of annihilation of Jews was a big thing. So that like there's been this constant Jew focus issue. Are Palestinians, Arabs, etc., also Semites? Yes. And can a Semite hate another type of Semite? Yes. There are many Muslims who hate Jews. And I bet there are many Jews who hate Muslims. Just look at the Palestinians, for example. So I am not in any way trying to say we can't call out hatred. We can't call out problems. But when I mention about anti-Semitism, I want to mention something that I think is important here. There are people who think Jews rule the damn world. They literally buy that bullshit, that the Jews rule this whole world and the Jews are really the ones puppet masters pulling on the strings. The Jews invented Islam. The Jews invented Christianity. The Jews are to blame for all of the bad shit that happens in the world. Jews this, Jews that. I see it all over the internet. It's all over YouTube. It's all in my comment section. There are guys like Adam Green and other YouTubers that do this shit. That's the nonsense that I'm trying to call out. Now, as far as Muslims and people who are anti-Muslim, like there are literal people who are Islamophobes. That is a real thing. I also try to call out that. I try to find a balance to strike. But this is why I think we keep mentioning Jews with anti-Semitism. As far as I can tell, there hasn't been an Arab Holocaust on that massive scale where there's like singled out, we just need to completely annihilate the Arabs from existence. This was a systematic thing that was legal against a whole race of people who identified as Jews. So, and when I say race, I don't mean just genetic. I mean people who are in a culture, in a society, who call themselves Jewish people. I'm not saying they're genealogically all from a particular race or anything like that. So that's my point. And that's what I'm saying when I'm calling out this whole notion. Let me see. Chased by 4 horsemen. Yeah. After you omit fundamentalism, beliefs, religion can. Yeah, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, and I've actually had people tell me that, you know, that the Jews weren't annihilated, that there wasn't a systematic approach to kill Jews. There are people who've commented, who've messaged me privately, who literally go out of their way to tell me that All of that's a myth. Jews weren't killed during this. It was the Jews' fault. Hitler was a hero. These are the kind of people that I've engaged with online. Now, if you side with them, I honestly have nothing in common with you on this issue. 80 million people died during World War II, yet all we talk about is 3 to 6 million Jews. Like, what do you mean? 3 to 6 million Jews who weren't in war. There was a war. People were literally in war against each other. The Jews were systematically annihilated. They weren't up in arms defending themselves over a nation. They were literally put into ghettos and then systematically exterminated. That's what I mean. Like if 100 million Americans died in battle, and let's say 50 million people from this country died in battle in a war, they're going to battle. It is absolutely horrible, horrific. There's no other way to describe it. But it's not like they're helpless cattle being steered into a oven to be burned alive. That's what we're saying with Jews that is happening here. And that's what I'm trying to point out. More Russians died in this by their own dictator than Jews died during World War II. I get it. But there was also a lot of fighting that was happening. So systematically, I don't hear people talk about Russians who rule the world, and we need to annihilate the Russians and this particular race of people. There's something about Jews and people who are against them wholeheartedly that just blows my mind. That's what I'm getting at. You have never interviewed a Muslim scholar. What does that say about you? Well, it says I haven't interviewed a Muslim scholar yet. And when I do, I don't know. What would that say about me? I don't know. Had nothing to do with the Jews, bankers. Jews stopped accepting Germany's currency, so Hitler attacked the Jewish community. Are you defending Hitler now? Where's all these railroad trains across Europe that were being used to just hurdle and Jews? Sounds like someone's defending Hitler. Yeah. Yeah, what were reactions to the comments when you were there? I didn't realize how widespread and crazy this is getting. Yeah, it's pretty bad. There's a shit ton of nonsense that's out there. He said he hasn't seen an Arab Holocaust yet. His country has been invading Arab land since 2001, and we're going into 2022. Yeah, this sounds like a nut job here that literally is just going over the top. What's up, Captain Dadpool? What is going on, my friend? I wish I'm sure there are some Muslims that are educated that I'll try and get on at some point, not just Muslim apologists, because that's the difficulty. But there are some academic ones that are Muslim that do believe, but they're not fundamentalist, radical apologists. That is my goal. So that... Someone says the chat is full of trolls. I don't know. I mean, like there must be debates going on, you know. Anyways, what's up, buddy? You need me? Yeah, I am. Do you want to say hey? Yes, I put that in the car. That's a flare. So if we ever get in a car accident or if someone else is in one, I can pop it off and it'll let people know, traffic know that there's a vehicle. All right. It's not a bomb. It looks like TNT. I know. Yes, that's true, Merlin. Right now at the hands of many Israelis in the West Bank. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Next thing you know, Hitler's a hero and the Jews are evil. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I hear. And you can see why I speak about it. I'm like, really, dude? Like, what the heck? I don't understand. Thank you so much, Cranium. Look, we got to call out bad even from Jews. If we see it, certain Jews are like that. I don't want to make it seem like we have to defend people no matter who they are. Or if they are certain people, because they're Jew, therefore they can't do any wrong. No. I mean, that's bullshit too. But there's what is this drive that is pushing people to be so focused and central on Jews other than they hate Jews. I don't know why. I imagine it's ignorance, and then conspiracy theories. Those are the only two things I come across that make me think the reason why people do this is they run down these rabbit holes, or they find out someone, a rich banker was Jewish Zionist back in the early 1900s, Rothschild. And like they run off into these conspiracies that the bankers, the Rothschild, the Jews, they rule the world. They're pulling all the strings, and they're the blame for everything. So we need to blame the Jews, and they're ready to, they're going to convert all of us to Noahides, and they're going to kill us if we don't convert. And it's like, most Jews aren't even religious. Why would they do that? It's just stuff like that really makes me go, what in the world is going on? Like, we need to evaluate what the hell is going on the internet. Laser Wolf, thank you so much for that. Sorry, I got a little flustered there. I saw someone who is an atheist, but from an ex-Muslim perspective, I follow. It's interesting. Interesting. Good to see you back. Thank you so much. Good to see 300 people still in here. You and your wife, beautiful on that dress. Thank you, Muhammad. I really appreciate that. I thought it looks good. I like to wear it, and maybe once in a while, I will wear it when I'm doing like Muslim content. That I feel like it's fitting to kind of adapt. I mean, my intro literally has me, for those who might like, I don't know, get upset or something, check out the intro again. I mean, it's a cool little intro, if I say so myself. Oh, yeah. Is Secular Spirit? I don't know about Secular Spirit. Emma Thorne. I'm good friends with Emma. She's a sweetheart. Need a narrative that makes them feel important, Ray says. Yeah. Michael Gamirican, good to see you, and I hope your father's doing well. I hope I can plan a visit, since I'm just north of you guys, north and east. I'm in Washington State in the Tri-Cities, and I want to make a visit to do some recordings with your dad, Russell Gamirkin. But Michael Gamirkin says, welcome to the internet. Yep. Chats have trolls and also nut jobs who deny or are oblivious to actual history and get sucked down silly internet rabbit holes. It's true. That is true. Thank you for tuning in, Michael. Oh, and by the way, Michael, don't think I forgot about you, my friend. I mean, I've got all these books you sent me from a long time ago. You know, you name it. All of the books. I keep them all right here because there's so many that you sent me in a box. I keep them all together. I haven't forgot about you, man. Thank you for those books. I haven't been able to read them yet, though. I'm not going to lie. But thank you. Let me see. What's the difference between Ashkenazi and Khazarian? Don't know. But I know that there's more than one type of Jew in the world, and not every Jew goes back to a European heritage. That's another conspiracy. Like, every Jew is really just European. There's Sephardic. There's all sorts of stuff going on that doesn't equate reality. Welcome back, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you. Derek is wearing dresses now. Cool. Absolutely, Alan. I am. Derek, stop being biased. Interview a real Muslim scholar. What does that say about you? Eating. My friend, I will at some point. I will. At this point, I am interested in critical scholarship, and I picked up Stephen J. Shoemaker's book, again, The Death of a Prophet. Let me pop that up. Let me give another critical Western scholar plug here. So if you're wanting to read along with me, and you're curious about what I'm reading, and you may want to, I don't know, follow along, here's the book I'm reading right now. The Death of a Prophet, the End of Muhammad's Life and the Beginnings of Islam, Divinations, Rereading Late Ancient Religion. I'm in the introduction of this book and I'm loving it. I am loving it because non-Muslim sources that are earlier than Muslim sources about the biography of Muhammad and his death, they don't line up. They don't line up. Now, I could go to a Muslim scholar and they're going to tell me the Islamic narrative. They're going to give me the biography of Islam or Muhammad through Islam's eyes. They're not going to give me non-Muslim sources, and they're most likely not going to give me a non-biased slant in favor of Muhammad's prophethood and, of course, the traditions that are required to be held by Muslims. So the day I decide I'm going to interview a believing Muslim scholar, it's really just to get their point of view from their angle, and I'll figure out how I want to package that, because there are some seriously smart Muslim scholars that know the Quran and understand a lot of stuff. And I am curious about doing those interviews with them. Right now, I can only do one thing at a time. I am one human, and I am trying to pick away at what I can tolerate and how much I can read at once. But this book right here is an absolute must read so far. I mean it. Did Muhammad even die when Islamic tradition says that he did? The biographies say he did? I don't know, actually. And so read along with me. Check it out. It's on Amazon. It's in the recommended book list down below. So I'm looking down here. Craig Horton, thank you. Thank you for becoming a member. Now you have access to all the early videos that I put on Patreon and, of course, on YouTube's membership. I appreciate you joining. I just launched 4 just in the past 2 days with Paula, and I got 2 more to do. Then I'm caught up with her. That means I have 12 episodes with Paula. I've already made 2 of those episodes public. There are 10 videos that you haven't seen with Paula Fredrickson. Got to brag about that. IQ of a population slips, and what do you know? Conspiracies get more popular. This is how I got out of Anon and religion. Remember, it's not about what you think or believe, but about what you can prove. I like that. The Holocaust happened and was exactly as horrible as you say, but today in 2022, because they were given reparations and invested in by the West, they are extremely successful and not the most hated. Maybe it depends on where in the world. I definitely think that there's been good treatment that has been to the Jews in recent times, for sure. And even the investigations that have gone on over in Israel, modern day Israel, with how they're treating Palestinians the way that whites have treated blacks in American history. And it's really bad in certain areas. It's really bad. The investigation equates to that. It's pretty rough. I'm not going to say at all times in American history, but definitely with the segregation and the treatment, it's really rough. Something worth looking into. Absolutely, Alan. I'm with you on that. Yes, many academics would point out that this is the early stories. And yeah, he killed entire tribes that were in the region, in the location where he was at, according to the traditions. Now, whether or not certain Muslims accept those or not, that's really up to you. I don't imagine you accept these ideas. And if you do, you probably would think the Jews did something wrong to deserve it or something like that. Just like when I talk to Christians about the annihilation of the Canaanites or Amalekites or whatever they are, or I talk to anyone who's a biblical believer about annihilation of people or something that happens, kill the men, women, and children and take the women as slaves if they're virgins, etc. They'll probably go, well, what did they do to the Israelites to deserve that? That's probably why, and they're justified in doing it. Okay. You tell yourself that, but the other people tell the same story from their perspective, and they think that the other side deserved killing as well, et cetera, et cetera. But when you have someone who's claiming to get direct revelation from God, things like that, that's when I start to see huge question marks, because he's the example everyone should follow. And if he's out here killing people because they're doing wrong to him or whatever, shouldn't we be doing the same thing? Shouldn't we just go around killing people who are doing us wrong? Maybe they disrespect our family or they are rude to our whatever. Like, we could find up excuses for anything. Ben Dover. You know that's got to be a troll name. If this is a real person's name, forgive me. Okay? Forgive me. But it doesn't sound like a real person's name. You got to be joking with the name. Come on. Ben Dover. I love your O face, Derek. Thank you. I tried to make it very O, you know. All right, I'm going to roll down here. Scrolling. I'm just trying to see, catching up. But nobody to refute the ex-Muslims and calling them experts. When have I called ex-Muslims experts? I don't recall ever equating ex-Muslims as scholars or experts. I think that you're the one who thinks that because I interview ex-Muslims. But let me tell you why, since you brought up the point, eating. I relate to people who are trapped in ideologies that have harmed them, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology, any religion or any cult that they have been a part of and they have escaped or left and they have found freedom, I relate to them. And I can find a lot in common. I also can find a lot in common with people who believe. But more so, I can find in common with people who have left and don't believe. That is part of my journey. My channel is a skeptic channel. You don't have to watch my channel. I don't know if you know that. You literally can hit unsubscribe, uncheck the bell, and you don't have to. Now, I know when you see this pretty mug on a thumbnail, you want to click it. I get it. I totally understand. But check it out. I promise you, you don't have to watch my channel. You really don't. You can just click on the next video and keep on scrolling. In fact, YouTube has this thing where you can unrecommend a channel so that you're not triggered or upset by that content. You don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Now, I'm only saying this because I'm not sure that you know this. And yes, I'm saying this sarcastically because I'm trying to prove a point or make a point. Like, you know, this isn't a advertise apologetics content channel. But if you're not doing that, and maybe I'm misreading you, promise you, at some point I will have a Muslim, a believer in Islam scholar come on my channel. At some point, I promise. So when that happens, I don't know when, but I promise you it will at some point. That's all I can tell you, my friend. Until then, if my content is annoying and triggering you, I promise you, you don't have to watch it. But if you see my face on that thumbnail. Anyway, appreciate all the comments, man. I'm just being funny. I'm being funny. Don't take it too serious. Eating. I'm being funny. I'm trolling, as many people in the chat do. I deserve an opportunity to do that sometimes too. Please. I have no freaking clue what you're talking about, Bob. I seriously have no idea. I'm getting confused. Earlier, I understood the comments more. Now I'm getting really, really confused. Hey, Mom.
Hey, I need Kurt to get down here right now.
Okay. Hold on. Yep. Where? Your house? Kurt, Mom said you need to get down here. Why? She might just need to go to her mom's or something. I don't know. So, all right, he's coming. I'm saying that out loud. I'm on a live stream. Love you. Bye. Sorry, everybody. Hey, I just got off the phone with Mom. I'm on a live stream. Kurt's coming. Yep. He said you better. All right. Dad is, yep. He needs you. All right. Catching up here. I'm trying to catch up here. Forgive me. Calls, family calls, it matters. I got to take that. I had to leave the chat for, wait a minute. Yeah. Very important. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it. I went to Israel, a believer in Yahweh, and left 14 days later, an atheist. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Everybody, I got to get off of here. Family's calling. I got all sorts of stuff coming my way. I really appreciate you. And thank you for everybody who's, showing love and sticking around. I got some good stuff coming. Just be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Brother Garfield, good to see you in the chat. Go subscribe to Brother Garfield's podcast. He's all about scholarship. He is engaging with, how do I put this, Garfield? Conspiracies and pseudo scholarship, all that kind of stuff on his channel. I absolutely hope that you'll go show, yes, I'm back in the house, and it feels so good to be home. Dawn of the Rainbow says that this channel enters politics, it will become a club of extremists. Well, I don't understand. My channel is not a politics channel. That doesn't mean we won't mention stuff, in passing as we go. But I got to get off of here. I love you. Please subscribe, share the video, join the Patreon, join the membership. Either join Patreon or membership, and you'll access early videos. If you join the Patreon, you can private message me there, which is more communication that way. But yeah, I could use your help. I really can. Thank you. Be on the lookout. Never forget, we are MythVision.